Hi, welcome back. Today I'd like to talk to you about the fifth discipline. The fifth discipline is a book by Peter Senge, and he is a professor in the business school at MIT. And this book, over the decades since he wrote it, has really come to be embraced by the business community, CFOs, CEOs, etc., as a bit of a Bible. What's interesting is that Peter Senge also has a background in spirituality. I'm not sure if he was a monk, but I believe he had quite a deep Zen training. And so this book and the principles in this book really can be used for personal growth and spiritual growth just as much as for business growth. The subtitle to the book speaks about the idea of learning organizations. So the fifth discipline is really a manual that allows us to see how our own growth and coming together with others who are also committed to growing and learning and seeing our blind spots can come together to create a learning organization. So this is a very exciting idea for those of us who are looking for a different model of how to do things and have an intuitive sense that there is a better way of doing and being. And so I'm just going to briefly go over the five disciplines today, and then maybe in the future do a deeper dive into each of them. So first of all, it's important to note that the idea of discipline, the word discipline, actually has a root in learning. So many of us, especially teachers, can tend to think that discipline is the idea of punishment or, getting some kind of a negative consequence for bad behavior. In fact, discipline is really rooted in the idea of learning. So here, when we talk about discipline today, we're going to be talking about the idea of the discipline of learning, of opening ourselves up to new ideas and to pushing the envelope, pushing our growth edge. The first discipline is personal mastery. So this on its own is an incredibly powerful way of framing our own journey. So another way of looking at that, I like to say, is just a lifelong learner. And we use that term a lot, right? So in this case, he talks about the fact that personal mastery is about the idea of embracing these growth edges, looking and reflecting at our own behavior and practices, etc., and being in a constant state of using that feedback loop to grow and to expand our view of ourselves and what is possible, etc. The second discipline is mental models. I love this term, having a term for the idea of these are things that we just take as given. These are the framework that we have in our minds for how the world works. We can have mental models on smaller things or mental models that are related to just how the world is. And so I find this incredibly powerful because by naming the fact that I have mental models, I am to a degree liberated from just being subject to knee-jerk responses and just being reactive. So by noting that, yes, I have mental models, some of them are good in the sense that they are useful, they bring me forward, they make me a more compassionate person. And then I have mental models that are not helpful, that are perhaps keeping me locked in a limited view of myself or a limited view of what's possible in a given situation. So another powerful tool, the mental model. The third discipline is shared vision. So this is where we go from the individual, the personal mastery, exploring our own mental models, and move into the organization, interacting with others. And this can be in a community, this can be in a family, a relationship, an organization, a business, and so on. Any group where you have a shared vision. So by naming the idea of a shared vision, Senge is really highlighting the fact that without a common sense of where you're going, conflict is inevitably going to arise. Working at cross purposes is inevitably going to arise. There's going to be either named or unnamed things that are sabotaging what you're trying to do as a unit. So again, another really powerful access point is shared vision. The fourth discipline is team learning. And so again, this is moving into the collective, and it kind of mirrors the personal mastery. So whereas personal mastery is a personal, what am I doing to constantly be learning and bettering myself, the team learning takes this idea and looks at how it is applied to groups and the interpersonal dynamics. So lots of juicy stuff in there and lots of tools that he brings to the table that I would encourage you to explore, or hopefully you'll be able to explore on another video in the future. So what's the fifth discipline? The fifth discipline, and I have to say this was a game changer for me, the fifth discipline is systems thinking. And systems thinking, as a way of distilling it, says systems determine behavior. And when I was first exposed to this, it was like a light went off. I was like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. If you take any random person and you put them, say, into the army, you're going to get a certain range of behaviors from that person, but it's going to be within a range. The systems and the training and the way that it's set up is going to create certain kinds of behavior. I know that teaching in the inner city, as much as I loved it and wouldn't trade it for the world, certain aspects of that intensity of that situation and the interplay of lack of resources and the demands on me as one adult in the room with children who had a plethora of needs, it created certain behaviors in me that some of which I was shocked to see. I did not expect myself to behave in certain ways. So this idea that if we can, that certain systems are going to determine certain kinds of behavior. And I think in looking at society and institutions, and this has just so many applications. What I have used it for more than anything is to start to unravel and look at my own experience being in a system, an institution like schooling. And it has been really helpful to help me tease out how much of this was me and how much of it was the system and the kinds of behaviors that are just inevitable when you set a system up in a particular way. It also helped me to be able to see where I was internalizing maybe shortcomings in the system and taking on things that really were beyond me. So I've found this to be extremely healing, this fifth discipline. All five disciplines to be very helpful and worth investigating and worth studying. And this fifth discipline, the systems thinking idea, just to be extremely liberating. So I offer that to you today, and I hope that it triggers some kind of an exploration for yourself, whether that's grabbing the book, The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge, or if that's just taking one of the five disciplines and watching for how it plays out in your life and how you might apply it. And hopefully we'll be able to do a deeper dive into each of these five disciplines sometime in the future. Thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next time.